I'm standing up for my property rights. So you can fine me, you can put me in jail, but I still will not give up my property rights. I will not comply and sign and check your box. You will not get a year's access to my property. It'll have to be forced 100%. You will have to violate my rights to get it. I am not giving them to you.
When I was just a kid, I used to always hear people talk about how things were when they were just a kid. I didn't want to hear it. So I apologize if I'm going to bring some things up that you don't want to hear, but it's very important. When I was a kid, we didn't have the age of information. We didn't have these cell phones, and we didn't have the internet and these iPads, and where we could just look up whatever we wanted to. We had to read books. We had to make phone calls. We had to ask our teachers. We had to figure out ways to find out information. As human beings, we know how to use the information to watch sports, watch some of the things that we like to do that we enjoy. Some people like learning how to cook. Some people sit and watch pornography all day. I don't know. But what us as human beings, we have to keep adjusting to the changes, adapting to the new things that are happening, and we have to learn how to use technology for the betterment of the human race. And little by little, I believe that we're catching up. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this guy's channel, North Country Off Grid, reminds me a little bit of what it was like when I was a kid. We didn't have all these things. I went outside to play with sticks, rocks, throwing rocks, and using my knife to cut sticks and build things and make things and just have fun. And you don't see that today, in this day and age, right? There's a lot of things from this channel that you guys are going to learn. North Country Off Grid. I'm totally blown away by this guy. I've been wanting to do this video for a minute. I just wanted to do it right. I still find it difficult for me to present it to you, so I'm just going to put some clips from his videos and his channel, and I'm going to put the links of his channel in the description. Please go subscribe to this guy. He has a lot to teach us all. Thank you, guys.
I've always grown up out in the woods. Ever since I was little, as far as I could remember, my old man was taking me hunting, going camping with the family. Grew up out here. So it's nice to get out, go for a walk, and enjoy everything. But I do it less, it seems, since we moved off grid and started homesteading, since we're kind of living in the woods. You know, the woods were always a break away from the mundane, you know, from your normal life. It was always getting out and getting away from everything. Freedom, you know, they're getting away from their job, getting away from the bills, getting away from all of the constraints of society and getting out where it's still free. No one can bother you, not really. But you're out experiencing the pinnacle of freedom, basically. You know, you get to walk in thousands and thousands of acres of wood. You can get lost for miles and miles to where you won't see anyone for hours, days, weeks at a time. Seems like that freedom is being chipped away at more and more. Luckily in this state of Idaho, you're not required to get permits to go and enter into the woods. In certain states, they do require you to buy a permit to enter into the woods. These are public lands, we the people lands, and the government applies permits to them, you know, in some places, and it's just to generate revenue and so that they can make more money. And unfortunately, we the people allow that kind of stuff.
And I totally agree with North Country Off Grid with what he's saying, and we have allowed it. I have seen this in so many areas of government. We have allowed our government, these installations, to corrupt themselves from the inside. We give them so much power. We don't hold them accountable. It is our duty as Americans to hold them accountable. And that's why I am highlighting this channel. We have a lot to learn from this channel. Pay very close attention. Here we go, folks.
Can I put you on hold for a moment?
Just makes a recommendation based on
How are you? Good. What do you need?
findings of
Oh,
facts
I think Chad's here.
and held.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of the report that was filed, the complaint on my property.
Okay, so that's fine. what's the name of the
Are you asking me? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Let me, we usually do not, we don't give out copies of those until the case is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's an investigation in process. So.
So
and I'd be happy
you're not
sit
going
down
to,
and-
or you are?
I'm not going to, so I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you about it.
Talk to me about what?
About the violation.
The alleged violation.
Correct. And see what we can do to help resolve it.
What I would like to find out is why it is you guys are using real estate websites to. Sorry.
Let's go back here to a conference
Sure.
room and sit down and talk.
So I'd like to know why it is you guys are using. I'm gonna stand. I'd like to know why you guys are using real estate websites to try and police permitting issues versus waiting for a neighbor to complain and then going after it. And then why is it that Dan McDonald is under the impression that you guys are not using real estate websites to find permitting violations?
So we find out about violations all different types of ways.
But I'm asking specifically about why it is you
I don't understand.
why it is you guys are getting onto realtor.com to find people's properties that are listed to then find permitting violations.
I don't know that we do it. What is the problem with that? What is the problem with looking at a public domain, a public website?
What is the
we do
problem
it.
of policing for permits? You're permitting for profit is
Right,
what
we
you're
do
doing.
that.
You're seeking it out to make sure that you guys are collecting some sort of revenue or that the permitting, planning and zoning is bringing in revenue when you're seeking it out. If your guys' job is to go after your setbacks and a neighbor has not complained about a setback, why is it any of your business to interject into a situation that hasn't developed?
So Chad, our role in the county is to enforce the county codes. We have county codes in place. Our role is to enforce those codes. And so we use all different types of means to identify where those violations are and to...
And you see nothing wrong with
Well,
by any
because-
means necessary. You don't
because-
think there's anything wrong with that because you know where I live. You know that I'm on 20 acres that you guys can't see into. And you guys use GPS or satellite to look into my property. You don't think there's anything wrong with that being your last resort and that's what you're choosing to do? No neighbor told on me. None of my neighbors complained because I have no neighbors.
Right, you don't.
So
Yeah.
any setback issues are not affecting anyone.
Did you, when you bought property in Bonner County, did you know that you needed a permit in order to build?
Do you
No,
have...
that was the question. Did you know?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You're here to answer my questions, okay? You work for the public. I do not work for you. You answer to us. There are people who have an
Just-
issue with...
I know, I'm making
There are
a
people
point.
that have an issue with the way that you choose to run planning and zoning, the way that you choose to try and police for profit. It's not acceptable. People don't like it because we don't agree with it, because you sit here and say, what's wrong with us doing that? What's wrong with going after your neighbors to collect permitting?
Chad, let's go back to my original question.
I'm not going to answer your questions. I'm not here to answer any of your
But you
questions.
sound-
Your job is to answer and serve the public, correct?
Chad.
Is my job to serve you in any way?
I'm not asking you to serve me.
Um,
I'm asking if you knew.
I would worry about
that you
answering my
needed a
questions
building.
then.
I was asking if you knew.
I'm asking
So let
you
me
questions
finish
and
my
you're not
sentence.
even answering them.
Let me
If you're not
finish
going to
my
answer my
sentence.
questions, I don't care to have you finish anything you have to say. You're sitting here acting as though I owe you something. I owe you
I'm
nothing.
not saying you.
I owe you absolutely nothing.
Right.
So for you to have your employees, when they run out of time, to sit on a computer and go search out what your neighbors are doing, do you have anything invested in this community or you just collect a paycheck?
Of course I live in this community.
No, do you have anything invested in this community? Do you do anything with your community other than collect a paycheck? You don't do anything, do you?
You don't know anything about
I'm
me.
asking you right now and you're not answering me.
You're right, because I'm not going to answer your question.
Why not? Being transparent enough to the people that you operate or you answer
Well, you're
to
making
don't
a
even
great
know?
assumption there, okay?
How am I
Just
making an
make it-
assumption?
Because I haven't had the chance to talk with Dan and understand what he knows.
I could
What
prove
he
it to
doesn't
you.
know. I understand.
I could absolutely prove it to you.
I get it.
I don't know. I'm not making an assumption. I'm telling you it's verifiable proof. He made a public statement saying that you guys do not use realtor websites at all. 0 real estate websites at all to find permitting violations, yet you are doing it. That is an issue. You don't see that as an issue?
I don't.
I mean, I understand that your paycheck is important to you,
Chad, don't.
but I would think that the way that you operate in this community should matter as well.
It does. That's why we continue
To who?
make changes to the ordinances.
I'm coming
changes
to you and I'm
this
telling you I have an
department to
issue, and
improve it.
I'm telling you that if the people have an
So,
issue,
let
will
me
you change
have
it?
some-
And you told me no, if the commissioners say it, then you'll do it.
Right. Let me meet with them and talk with them about it and see what their challenges are.
I think the issue is that because you don't see a problem in it, that you morally don't have issues with going after neighbors and then anonymously reporting it. Do you understand that
Did
if
you
you're
know
pitting,
that when you
if
bought
you're
your
pitting
property,
neighbors
you
to,
needed a permit?
do you understand
Did you know when you
that,
bought
do
your
you
property, you
understand
needed a
that
permit?
if you are getting neighbors against each other, you are not making a better community?
You're not
So when you
listening.
say, hey, your neighbor turned you in, your compliance officers specifically say your neighbor turned you in. It was a neighbor that turned you in. They're lying.
Not always.
Are you
Because we
okay?
have neighbors turn people in
If
all the
they've
time.
done it one time, they're lying about it, period. You're lying about it. If you're lying about it, you're lying to the public. Who do you think should be held responsible? The head of the department? I'm assuming you know that Lee lies to people about this stuff, correct?
I don't know that.
How do you not know it? He's underneath you. You're supposed to be in charge of the department, so you're claiming ignorance? So are you surprised by me telling you this? Because you don't seem surprised.
Chad, we find out violations in lots of different ways.
Let's talk about this one specifically then.
We investigate.
Listen,
them
you're not
in
going to
lots of
sidestep me,
different ways.
okay? You're not going to sidestep what I'm saying. I suggest you answer it straight up or tell me you're done answering questions. I'm telling you that
I told
Lee,
you what I'm going to do.
Lee is submitting anonymous reports, okay, saying it's a neighbor. He's lying to the community. He works for the community. He answers to the community. Do you feel like that's someone that you should employ?
Yes.
You do.
I need to.
Someone that's lying to
let
the
me do
community?
let me research this stuff a little bit further before you make assumptions.
I'm not making assumptions.
Let me
I'm
look
telling
into
you,
it
you guys
further.
have been caught. It's been
It's
recorded.
not caught, dude.
How's it not caught?
Because
Because you guys are operating in a
not
certain
caught.
way that the public's
There's nothing wrong
the
with
public
the way that
has
we
not been
operate.
aware of, and then now they're
There's
being,
nothing wrong with the way that we operate.
according to you. As I've just
according-
said to you, I'm not here by myself under just
I
my
know you're
opinion.
not. I know you're
This
not.
is a public opinion shared by hundreds of people in this
Okay.
area and thousands of people throughout the country. You're well aware of it. You know what I'm
I am.
talking about.
Yep, I do.
So why are you digging your heels in and saying we're good to go when it's pretty simple? You just say, you know
What
what?
do you want?
Let's change our policies.
I'm happy to change.
Let me
my
tell you-
policies.
let me tell you what I would
I'm happy
like,
to
okay?
change it. I'm already working
Let
on
me
it
tell you what I would
as
like
we
then.
speak.
As a community, the issue is if my neighbor has a problem with me, that's when you guys should step in. When my neighbor says, hey, he built over his setback. Here's the proof. Guys, here's the proof. Then you come out. Then we all talk because I did something wrong at that point. Okay? When you try to prevent crimes or prevent things before they take place and interject, you're not serving your community. You're serving yourselves. If you waited for a neighbor to complain, then it's an issue. That's where you guys step in. That is your job. Going out and looking for it just causes you guys a huge headache. It's a huge headache.
It's a waste of taxpayer
I don't
money.
think that's what the code says. I think the code says that anybody, including the department, can turn in a violation. And so maybe that needs to be revisited.
What I'm
I don't have a
asking
problem with
you though is like, why can't Lee just be content with his job?
why
And when
can't-
he's called out to go and find an issue, he finds an issue.
So Chad,
The
did
police
you
do the
know-
same thing. The rest of the services do. Like fire truck doesn't go out looking for fires. They wait for it and then they go serve the people. The police doesn't go out kicking doors looking for violations. They wait for them to come and then they go out and serve the people. You guys, this looks like you are just trying to create more and more work to justify more and more jobs, which is a tax burden on the people.
I get where you're.
Do you have kids in this community?
I do.
I have a kid that's under a year. I would love for him to be able to live in Idaho. This is where we're from. This is where we're from. So to see our government taxing us out, to see all the regulations getting put in place, the more and more regulations, do you think he's going to be able to come into this community?
Less regulations than most of the counties.
You guys tried to create more regulations on your new proposal of the RVs. You took 120 days, and now you turned it into must have a pad, must have water and power hookups.
So what we're doing is we're changing it to be, if it's going to be a permanent location, then what we're actually doing is increasing the number of living spaces that are allowed on a piece of property.
So let me ask you.
Determine how many living spaces we're allowed to have on our property.
Density.
Like the issue is for one, you're trying to do it in a blanket manner. You're trying to say, because you know we live out on acres,
Yep.
versus people who don't. So when you say, okay, you guys can't put this in city limits or whatever, it's understandable that someone wouldn't want 5 trailers on their property, right? But if I've got 100 acres, how is it any of your business? And why do we try to do it in one big blanket, one size fits all?
That's why we're working on these sub-area committees.
So why are we going after community and neighbors and trying to put them in a jail cell and trying to take their money instead of working with it?
I mean, not.
I'm getting letters left and right.
Chad.
And I'm telling you, it's escalating.
It's escalating because we haven't had a conversation about it. And if you and I could have a conversation about it, I think we could resolve it. But you've talked to everybody else, but you haven't talked to me.
I haven't talked to everyone else. I haven't talked to our commissioners.
Right.
I went straight to people, neighbors, and friends, because that's who you guys represent. The neighbors. And when I went to my neighbors and I talked to them, and they took issue with it too. And it was a neighbor who brought this issue to me and had me bring it out to light. I didn't even talk to anyone about my issue publicly. It was Adrian's issue of them coming out there, and then Lee comes out there and lies through the entire time, and she finds out afterwards that he was lying completely, and you guys come out to look at some pipe that happens to be state regulations and not even your guys' jurisdiction, and somehow she's still out $85 for an inspection? Do you see the issue with that? It looks a lot like extortion. No one gave her money back. And she wasn't in violation.
She was.
Well, what was she in violation of?
She put up that building with.
She was allegedly in violation. You guys did not find a violation, correct?
She removed it all. She removed the plumbing.
So you didn't find a violation?
No, she told me that she removed the plumbing after she got notice that it was a violation. That's what she told me.
How did you know that she had a violation?
Because they went on realtor.com and looked at her stuff.
So we research properties in all different ways. I mean, we're going to use all the tools
Researching mean
available.
what? Going after?
No, researching, seeing if the complaint is accurate.
But the issue, but it wasn't a complaint. That's the thing, is she lives so remote that a neighbor didn't complain. It's not a complaint. It's you guys policing for profit. That's what you're doing. The issue is it's not a problem.
It has nothing to do with profit. It has to do with the process. There's a process in all of this stuff, and you follow the process and you're fine.
And the process is if there's a complaint.
Is there a process in this country about privacy?
Your people, there isn't. There isn't a process.
What is your name?
It's a right. I'm Jeff Conley.
Chad.
I'm Bonner County Commissioner.
My issue is that there's federal process in this country where we're allowed to be secure in our property. So when we use drones, when we use satellites to look into someone's property because you guys can't physically see into the property, you don't see a problem with that? And this is more of just a moral issue on top of rights. If you guys are saying, we just don't see an issue with being able to spy on your property, then I feel like these leaders are the wrong leaders.
You're confusing a lot of federal and state. And
you guys, you can't make law that contradicts federal law.
That's correct.
So let's just strip it back to the federal law. We get private property. We get private property rights. Those aren't private property rights that are conditional on whether or not you guys want to look into it or not. Private property rights are private property rights. If you can't see in my property, you stay out of my property. Until a neighbor says, hey, there's a violation, allows you onto his property to take a picture of that violation.
So do you feel like when you moved to Bonner County, and I don't know when that was, but that you have some responsibility to follow the rules of Bonner County? Because I mean, Bonner County.
Are we talking codes or laws? Because I absolutely agree with the laws. However, I never once negotiated my rights away to any of you guys.
Well, nobody said you did, but.
Then why would I come in and adhere to a law or a rule or a code that violates my rights?
Anybody in the state of Idaho would tell you that there's a certain amount of rules that have been made by planning departments, and there's code and there's all this other
Right.
stuff. And some of it's state, some of it's even federal that we pass through to try to regulate what's going on the land. Whether it's wetlands.
What do you mean regulate on the land? We're talking private land versus wetlands, which
Trust
is
me,
a federal
dude.
issue most of
Hey,
the time.
Trust me.
But there's-
We, the three commissioners are very much into private property rights.
Okay, but
We are
if
very
you
much-
guys are, then you should be agreeing with everything that I'm saying,
Well, I
because
do
I'm
with a
doing
lot of it. I do with a lot.
nothing but sticking up for private
But-
property
but
rights.
Again, let's back up to what I started to say before you interrupted me, which is that when you moved here, you must have realized, did you research the rules that were in place? When you moved
you
here?
say rules,
That's your
and
responsibility.
you're saying codes, right? And what
Well, no,
I'm
all-
telling you,
all rules.
what
I'm not gonna.
Okay,
I'm not
listen.
gonna take it down to just code or just planning and zoning or anything else or our ordinances. That's your responsibility. You chose to move here.
I was born in America, afforded rights that the state cannot violate.
I agree with that.
Do you understand that concept?
I don't think we are. I know we aren't, actually.
Really? Okay, so then what is the issue on my private property that it's affecting you so much?
Like I say, when you came to here and when you
You're just beating around it. I'm not in here to do a bunch of dancing with you guys. Not one bit. He wanted to answer my questions and talk to me. That's what I'm here to do. You don't seem to be part of the process right now.
Chad,
I'm talking
So
to
you-
this guy.
You want me to leave? I can
No, I'm
leave.
not asking you to leave, but don't turn this into a dance. I'm not in a circular conversation.
Chad, so, but his-
I'm basically asking